Ah, yes, them damn dirty truckers are starting to have effect, and more European countries are rolling back COVID-19 restrictions. We've talked about different provinces in Canada, okay, finally dropping their restrictions. More states down south doing the same, and we'll be touching up there, just seeing how many more restrictions will be dropped here in the near future. But across the pond, well, you had the UK really just kind of kick all of this stuff off, and then even just a little bit before that, and some of the smaller Nordic countries dropped their restrictions as well. Go back to, or in fact, enshrine normalcy once again. But France, Greece, and Portugal become the latest European countries to relax restrictions, with the three nations easing travel restrictions as well. For example, vaccinated tourists won't have to provide a negative test. Oh, cool. So if you're already jabbed up 3, 4, 5 times already, you won't have to provide a negative test to travel. Cool. Greece also dropped pre-departure requirements for testing. French officials this week announced that you won't have to vaccinate your cheese. The country would drop a requirement of a negative COVID test for vaccinated people from outside the European Union. One step at a time, I suppose. But that's what's happening across the pond in a very truncated version. Once we have better developments than just, oh yeah, cool, you've already been jabbed up. And if this was a few months ago, we could just say that you're basically Superman if you get all the jabs. But that's just not the case, because obviously that's not how fucking viruses work. But anyways, what about from the health czar down south? Okay, what about Dr. Fauci? Because apparently it's not the White House, it's not any of the, health directors, it's not the Secretary of Health who makes any of these decisions. No, it's the most expensive Fed on the fucking books who's going to be able to say when you cannot go outside any longer. Fauci hints at when all COVID-19 restrictions may finally come to an end. All you need to do is just check his calendar and see how many more appearances he has on cable news. And when those start to dry up, that's probably when the restrictions are going to drop. I haven't read before that, but I'd imagine he's probably going to allude to something like that if he's talking about truth, right? White House COVID-19 advisor Anthony Fauci said the United States is past the full-blown pandemic phase. No, he said not that long ago that, no, we're not at the top yet. But now all of a sudden, it's all the way through it? Cool. And more officials suggest an end to the mandates and rules. Speaking with the Financial Times, Fauci said, since there is no way to fully eliminate the coof. Whoa, when did he change his position on that? Wow, man, this dude, he's just flip-flopping. It's almost like there should be a nickname to elicit that kind of response from Fauci. Anyways, we are looking at a time where we have enough people vaccinated and enough people with protection from previous infection. Wait, now he's talking about natural immunity? What the fuck is going on here? It's almost like he's seeing the writing on the wall. That the COVID restrictions will soon be a thing of the past. Yes, because as we know, vaccinated people definitely aren't ending up in the hospital and definitely aren't testing positive now, are they? Yeah, no. Okay, cool. What about natural immunity, though? We don't really see a lot of reoccurrences of that. And there's definitely not studies out there showing something like 20 months after the fact, you're still, producing antibodies and showing some sort of. Anyways, Fauci's references to prior infections known as natural immunity is notable because for months, Fauci and other top health officials have solely pushed vaccines as a way to defeat the pandemic. Last year, during interviews with the press, Fauci would often downplay natural immunity in favor of vaccines. So chalk that up to another thing in the ever-evolving, well, the science has changed. Sure it has, pal. It's not shit that we've known for, people on this side of the aisle have known for well over a year at this point. But now what are the people on the ground doing? Well, we had a little bit of a rescinding of mandates in New Jersey, but now the people are taking to the streets. I wonder what inspired them. Honk honk. New Jerseyans rally against tightening COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Interesting. In Trenton, New Jersey, which is dangerous enough, so just add a whole bunch of people down there, which doesn't look like it's an insignificant turnout, by the way. Despite cold and drizzly weather, about 100 people gathered outside the New Jersey State House in Trenton to protest recent vaccination requirement or mandates without a testing option for correction officers and healthcare workers mandated in January by Governor Phil Murphy via executive order. Oh, okay. Newly elected State Senator Ed Durr. How much was that dude picked on for that name? Spoke at a rally criticizing the mandates. New Jersey correction officers are being treated as second-class citizens because they're forced to take a vaccine, while inmates do not have to take it, Durr said. Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? Senator called on the rally attendees to keep asking their state legislatures to take action on the issue. And don't let up, because as we're seeing, as long as you keep protesting, eventually, mandating will improve. Then you see something out here that's just absolutely fucking glorious. Students stage mask revolt across Washington state because we just seen, what was that, Monday or some shit like that? Oregon, their neighbors to the south announcing, yeah, we're going to get rid of school mask mandates at the end of the month, though. Or no, theirs is March 7th, by the way. Yeah, no, because that was announced February 7th. They said a month later, but it could be sooner. As students in Washington state, where things are fucked up beyond a lot of repair, and we're going to have to talk about the crime in Seattle here, maybe in a few days, maybe next week, I don't know. But regardless, you love to see the organic protest of the kids just kind of wanting their life back. Katie Davis Court reported from Washington State on Wednesday that the protests against mask mandates staged by students with Turning Point USA. that alt-right outlet. Oh, yeah, sure. The students said we're done wearing masks and they're tired of being kicked out of class for non-compliance. Students together strong. Students tried to get back into Washagal, sure, high school, and were diverted back into the parking lot. No, that's fine. Davis Court reported that students will refuse to return to class until the mask mandates for schools are lifted. Many states, including Jersey, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Virginia, Oregon, and New York, have lifted mask mandates. Wait, when did New York do that? Though New York and California, those mandates are still in place for school children. Oh, okay, yeah. What was the gimmick with California? That was yesterday. It was only for, like, vaccinated people. It was retarded. One student who refused to wear a mask at school said that she was threatened with suspension if she didn't leave or don a face mask. Mandy Odering, Turning Point USA chapter president at Washog School, explains that her administrator threatened to suspend her, sure that they have a video or some shit like that. But it looks like the kids just decided, yeah, no, that shit's retarded, and we're just gonna go out and party in the parking lot until you guys stop being gay. But yeah, no, like the entire list of different states out there, New York, New Jersey, California, Oregon, Connecticut, Delaware. I guess Illinois is supposed to be making another announcement as well. Many red states never implemented it, and then again just have it re-enshrined thanks by passing different bills through their legislature and signing into law after they had executive orders banning any mask mandates in schools. Still, feel free to wear them if you want to be ridiculed in the school, because kids are mean in the best way possible. So why is it all of a sudden these blue states are starting to turn around? Well, they see the writing on the wall, and they can read a calendar knowing that they're going to have to get reelected, so they're going to have to at least put on the facade that we actually give a fuck about the regular people. It's perfect timing. Republicans mock Democrats for suddenly ditching science for politics. No, it's not politics. The science changed. It's funny, right? Because they'd never tell you what science they're citing, what science they're using to come to their conclusions. It was just simply merely the science, no questioning it, no even attempts to broach any understanding of what they're using to come to their conclusions. No, if you do that, you'd just be anti or a phobe or an ist, whatever the fuck they want to label you as. But all of a sudden, as people start protesting, as people start realize that we're 2 years deep into this shit, if we don't do something now, this could be forever. So yeah, now the plebs are starting to rise up and they're like, no, the science has changed. The science hasn't changed. The process has been engaged for a long time. People have known this shit for a long fucking while at this point. Now you finally start to come around to it because you realize that primaries are starting to show up and you'd like to keep your job. That'd be great. At least that's just my take on it. It could be different, obviously. Democrat-led states across the country have announced plans to drop their mask mandates in coming weeks, and Republicans are claiming politics are at play. Well, seems about right. New Jersey, New York, California, Oregon, Connecticut, and Delaware have all announced plans to roll back their mask requirements within just the last day. I'd love to see whether internal polling went around the Democratic Party last week. You'd have to think so. It's certainly no coincidence that Democrat-run states are dropping mandates as fast as they can, Representative Kevin Hern, a Republican from Oklahoma, had said. Biden administration, however, still recommends indoor masking for school and other public places. Yeah, they ain't letting this shit go, by the way. Yeah, no, White House coronavirus team still refuses to budge. Most of the country still needs to wear masks. Why? why a cloth mask? Because we've known about that for a minute now. It's been at least a week since that study came out. And, learned opinions have been maybe a little bit longer than that. But whatever. No, the science has come forward and said that cloth masks, yeah, I don't know. They're probably better situated around your sack than they are around your face. But hey, whatever. No, just wear a mask. Why? Because just wear a mask. Why? Because just wear... See how this shit goes. And listen, whenever you hear from these people, it's like, what's their justification? Well, it's just wearing a mask. Shut up. And it's like, well, is it actually doing anything? And if we keep wearing masks and things continue to get bad, but now all of a sudden you claim just because the natural curve of things based on studies that we've seen from other places where this shit has been going on for a little longer, everything just seems to be going according to plan, but now all of a sudden masks start working? Weird. No, Uncle Joe was handing out free KN95 masks, and that makes it better. Sure it does. President Joe Biden's coronavirus task force on Wednesday sidestepped decisions by Democrat governors to lift mask mandates across the country, recommending most Americans remain masked in public indoor settings. Go fuck yourself. At the time, we conducted and recommended a masking in areas of high and substantial transmission. Oh, okay. Center for Disease Control, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, stated during a press briefing, and that's most of the country right now. Sure thing, sweetheart. You were also the same lady who had very spicy takes on fully vaccinated people on their ability to transmit certain viruses. We're, of course, taking a close look at this in real time and also looking at the polls because they're looking awfully abysmal now, aren't they? Joe Biden job approval rating crashes to 38%. Not just, hey, 38% strongly approve. Nope, 38% total approve of what he's doing. He's really bad at being president, and that reflects poorly on his party. Ergo, yeah, maybe we should give people back their freedom, okay? Because guess what? The people who are going to be very much pro-mandate are still going to vote Republican, never going to vote Republican anyways, and they're always going to vote Democrat. So we might piss them off in the short term, but it's not like they're going to be not voting for us anyway. So what do they have to lose? Surveying 1,355 adults between February 2nd through 4th, the IBD TIP poll found the president's job approval rating stood at 38% with a disapproval rating of 48% with adults, with another 14% undecided. Put that wherever the fuck you want. It's still not good for the old man. Presidential Leadership Index, which tracks how the president is viewed when it comes to leading the country, put the president's approval rating at 44.4%. 44% of people approve of how he's leading the country. Okay, can you describe how he is leading the country? Because that might preclude a significant portion of that 44% from actually answering that honestly. In January, the same poll gave the president a 44% approval rating and a 45% disapproval rating, so both things are going in different directions. A steady drop can largely be attributed to the sudden cratering. There we go. Words are hard sometimes. In support among Democrats, 66% to 21%. For independents, the president fared even worse with a 55% disapproval rating. So outside of the Democrat base, nobody likes Joe. And go figure, right? But then he just keeps on pushing these hard left policies. Why? Because politics now, it isn't run by the will of the people, because if they just listen to their constituents, like the actual people, if they'd act more like Trump, which, go with me on this one, okay, it's not going to be a big pro-Trump thing, but I just think that he had the best policy possible on this one. Remember how weird it seemed that even after he did get elected in 2016, he'd still be going around and doing these rallies? Like, who the fuck would do that? He wanted to go see what the people were actually doing. Okay, yeah, he'd go to the places that deeply voted for him, but in some places where he didn't expect to pick up the state, like Pennsylvania, he'd go down there and he'd rally to thousands and thousands of people to see what the tone and tenor of the place was and base his policy decisions on that. It seemed weird, right? And it especially took mainstream media, well, him waking up in the morning took them by storm, but that's how politics used to be run. It didn't operate on the small opinion of, again, this is a poll, 1,355 people. What does that represent? A neighborhood? In my little fucking extended cul-de-sac, there's probably 1,355 people. Would the general consensus of this area really reflect the wider city? Okay, no, obviously fucking not. Like if we're polled and it said, how do you think a snow removal is done in your area? It would be abysmal. But on the main streets, it seems to be fine. They're doing a decent job over there. But you take a look here, there's been 2 plowings and none of them have been this year proper so far. And there's ice everywhere that you look. How well are the parks kept? Well, the parks are pretty nice, but you take a look at Muskosipi or Crystal Lake or even one that's on the other side of town, Bear Creek. There we go. You take a look at those and they're probably fairly shitty because there's just a bunch of bums that populate them all the time. So it's not a fair and accurate representation of things. It's almost like going around and assessing who you govern over. Listen to the plebs from time to time. That might make you a little bit more popular. That might make your decisions a bit more informed, because after all, you're supposed to be the mouthpiece of the people, not the mouthpiece to the people. But with that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.